Nicole, welcome to A House for Arts. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So as executive director of the WAM, which is the Woodstock Artists Association and Museum, tell us a little bit about the overall goals of the institution and what might people expect to see there if they were to walk in today?
Sure. So the WAM is a 100-year-old museum. It began in 1919 by several painters who had been living in the colony of Woodstock for a while and decided after many years of living and working there, it was time to build a space, a permanent home to display their work, as well as the work of their peers who were living up in the region as well. So they created the WAA, the Woodstock Artists Association. And over time, those artists, along with their peers, created this amazing community up there in Woodstock, in the village.
And they called it an artist colony, right?
It's called an artist colony. It really began in 1902 with Birdcliff, the real artist colony, which was created very close to where the WAM exists right now. For artists to live and work and really create this community for artists. Not unlike what was happening on the other side of the river, the Hudson River, the Catskill Mountains were an inspiration for artists to create landscape paintings. So artists who'd been living in this farming village came and started doing landscape paintings of the rural landscape on our side of the Catskills.
Right.
And so in 1919, they created this home for their work. And over the course of the century, the community grew. And what you see now is really an amazing institution that has a permanent collection, which was actually begun in 1973, a permanent collection of 20th century American art, which is really an amazing microcosm of American art in our country. Mm-hmm. You see the trajectory of art history starting from, the Hudson River School and obviously landscape paintings and realism, all the way through the linear narrative, so to speak, of modern art that happened in the country and of course throughout the world. But you see the same thing happening in Woodstock. So the post-impressionism and fauvism and surrealism.
Right, abstract expressionism?
Abstract expressionism was certainly in the 1950s.
Is that what visitors would see if they were to walk in today, these kinds of things?
Yes, so the way the museum is structured right now, we have 5 galleries. The gallery in the back was built in 1992, I believe. It's called the Tobin Wing. And that is where we display our permanent collection. So we have 2,000 objects representing mostly the 20th century American art. And we do rotating exhibitions in that space based on the permanent collection. So that's really where the historical material takes place. In the other galleries, we do rotating contemporary exhibitions. We also have a youth exhibition space run by our education director. And there are galleries on the lower level, again, where we display contemporary work. Right. The museum is called the Woodstock Artists Association because when it was built in 1919, the idea was to really have this core community of member artists, which still exists today.
Well, I'm just curious to know, Nicole, because it's making me think about the larger role of museums in smaller towns and rural areas versus cities. And I know you've done work at Art OMI, which is in Columbia County, New York, which is, it's a large sculpture park. It's in a rural area, but you've also done a lot of work at the Drawing School in Soho and at MoMA in New York City. So thinking big picture about this, what you're telling me about the WAM, what are the major roles of museums in smaller rural areas versus big cities? Are they different at all?
Well, I think there are 2 purposes that I can think of right now. One is the idea of community building. So the WAM is, like I said, an an artist association, one of the oldest artist associations in the country. And what that means is, we maintain a roster of nearly 400 member artists each year who pay a very modest membership fee in order to participate in our exhibitions. So we have a number of member and non-member exhibitions happening at all times. And the membership base really becomes the heart and soul of the organization. And the way the WAM works, our mission is really to promote and exhibit the work of local artists, regional artists. So most of our exhibitions are featuring artists within a 50-mile radius. So in that respect, it's about community building and making the members of the organization feel like they're part of a family.
Right,
So
it's
to
like the
speak.
local community is the lifeblood of the museum in a smaller rural area.
Right.
Whereas with a big city museum, if you will, a kind of more colloquial way to refer to it, it's kind of, does it have a more of a national or international focus? Is that where the distinction lies?
So the WAM is located in the center of the town of Woodstock. So we consider it a hub, right? A smaller museum like that, its purpose not only is to serve the local artists and community with excellent programming, but it's also to boost the cultural tourism in the area. So the WAM, of course, isn't the only museum in town, or the only art space in town. There's several more. There's Birdcliff, which is our neighbor, the Center of Photography, the Woodstock Historical Society, and the Woodstock School of Art. And together, these organizations are a cultural alliance. And one of the goals is really to bring, tourists or bring day trippers from the city or from this tri-state area to come to the town and really experience the art, the community. And people think of Woodstock and they think of the 1969 music festival, which really didn't even happen in the town of Woodstock. And the town has so much more to offer. So I think the role of the museum is really to be this a cultural attraction.
Right, and I'm kind of wondering too, because now that we're all having to be online and we've got physical distancing, what kinds of programs and virtual events does the WAM have going on right now? I think you had a live performance of one of John Cage's musical pieces before, and discussion panels about art and healing.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So obviously, every museum, every cultural organization had to pivot during the pandemic and bring as much programming online as possible. So the WAM did that. Yes, we had a public program showing John Cage's performance. It was done by Marco Benevetto, who's a well-known musician in the area, and this art and healing panel discussion or group discussion. I think right now museums are doing all they can to make the best of the technology and to make its audience, its visitors still feel engaged with the material. And I think that will exist beyond the pandemic itself. I think there's many people are realizing, oh, I don't have to leave my house to see good art or to experience a panel discussion, which for some people is good. And not only that, perhaps people who live remotely, far away, who don't have the opportunity to come to New York, whether it's New York City or upstate New York, they can still experience our programmings through an online portal, which is a new offering.
So what you're telling us, Nicole, is that even with the challenges that you're dealing with today, the innovative ways that the WAM has learned to address them may actually give you tools for moving forward way past the pandemic, way past the vaccinations, to something that's really engaging and kind of pulls the community back in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, thank you so much for being on A House for Arts. It was such a pleasure speaking with you, Nicole.
Thank you very much.